Well, good evening, everybody. Tracy Hickman here, and we've once again are back with Dragonhearth Live. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to get together with you, and I'm very sorry about that. I actually had a really, really horrible head cold that hit me a couple of weeks ago before our game sessions. And you can still hear a little of it actually in my voice this evening, and still trying to get rid of it. So 2 weeks ago, I had this head cold and decided that I just actually 2 weeks ago got this head cold, but of course was worried that it was a COVID issue. So I went in, had my test done, and but I was essentially in self-quarantine for that Wednesday, and so waiting for the results. So we decided to cancel the game 2 weeks ago. Got in touch with everybody in our game and asked them, well, maybe tonight would be a bad night to do this. So we decided to skip that evening, and but then the following week, by the time we got there, I'd gotten my COVID results back. Everything was fine. I've always been very much up to date in terms of my vaccines and boosters, so hadn't too much of a worry there. And we get to get the results back, and I was just fine. But by the time we were coming up on the next Wednesday, my head cold was raging so badly that I couldn't speak, and it would be pointless to do the game anyway. So once again, we canceled. And so I was very much looking forward to this evening. But as you can see, we're not at Mythos this evening. We're actually in my office, or I'm in my office. And this is because I got a call from Bo Sampson, one of our players, this afternoon, and his wife had hurt her arm, and they were on their way to the hospital, and so the two of them couldn't make the game tonight, and the two people that were sitting their kids while they were going to the hospital were also in our game, and so they couldn't come tonight. And as of course fate would have it, and as things are. Oh, just a moment. It seemed strange to continue with the game this evening, and of course my wife Laura had caught the cold that I had, and has a stuffy nose and is dealing with the whole cold situation. Okay, so sad as all that may be, we decided again to cancel a game for this evening. But I wanted to touch base with everybody. I wanted to definitely go online and at least get back on the air here with Dragonhearth and get an update to everybody, and of course answer any questions for anyone who is online. Now, admittedly, having been away for 2 weeks, it's a wonder that anyone is back at all. But I do see that Deja Vu is with us, and Byron is with us. Hi, Byron. It's always good to see you. And so I'm just glad to be back with you all and back on the air with Dragonhearth. It's been a really busy time here for us anyway, and being sick, of course, hasn't helped that. I've been working very hard with Laura on our Sky Raiders of Abarox, and getting it. Oh, excuse me. I still do have the remnant of this cold. Thank you, Arthur. We hope everyone gets better by next week also. I know. We've all had games that have been postponed, but it doesn't make it any easier. Um, and it's really funny in a way because over the course of the 2 years of COVID, or 2 years or more of the COVID pandemic, um, while we've had to deal with other um, uh, other medical issues, my knee replacement and other things, and kidney stones. Thank you very much. Um, and But over the period of COVID, neither Laura nor I came down with any colds or any of the flu, which is really kind of unusual for us. We usually would catch something um, over the course of the year. It'll take us out for a few days. So, I guess we get to the end of the pandemic, and it's okay now to be regular sick for some reason. That makes no sense. Um, so yeah, I think everybody is going to be better is going to be feeling much better by next week, and we should be able to get back to the game. I'm especially excited about it because we've had all kinds of interesting developments in terms of Sky Raiders. It's been an interesting journey. Um, I've I keep finding things that I want to fix, or improve or change, and I've come to realize that I cannot rewrite the entire um, fifth edition game system, because that would be extremely counterproductive, and we'd never get this project done. There are some things that I do want to continue with. Underleveled, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Um, so I think if you've seen some of my updates, I've been talking a lot about the system for flying the ships, and I was really getting into it and coming up with some really interesting, kind of mini games and simulations and so forth for flying the ship that were extremely detailed. And it was pointed out to me, um, excuse me, it was pointed out to me that it had to be fun. Uh, and so we're taking another look actually at the ship flying rules. And yes, I do actually, Deja Vu, I do hope to update the rules about falling damage, since I mean falling off a ship it's a long way down, or potentially can be a long way down. Um, yes, I do think that falling is yeah, no, don't do the hero landing. I think that's actually been proven to be probably the worst possible way that one can land. Um, anyway, so I think some of the changes, of course, that we wanted to make, we will continue with. I do want to. We are moving away from the concept of race and splitting that into culture and ancestry and culture, which actually will make for some more dynamic abilities in terms of how your character is created. Um, then and ethos, I think, is the other thing that I wanted to change. I had actually intended to take a look at classes and update the concept of classes altogether. But on reflection, um, I think we need to modify classes rather than try to replace them altogether, because it's just too much to build and design to change it all the way. An ogre being raised by halflings definitely will be fun, and it is certainly something that can happen in our game. So yes, Deja Vu, you can have your ogre raised by halflings, which frankly I think would be a really interesting kind of character. I do want to point out, if I may, something that I think you've already seen, um, and that is a rendering of the Ukraine, excuse me, a rendering of Ukraine flag here in the corner, and the symbol of Ukraine. I stand firmly with, personally stand firmly with Ukraine and with the people there. Their fierce bravery in the face of an oppressive invasion, and an evil incursion into their nation, has, I think, inspired all of the world. It certainly inspires me. I am, I think many of you know, I'm very much a religious man, and my faith has a beautiful temple in Kyiv, a very holy site for us. And I truthfully have long had an affinity for the people of Ukraine and for the region. I harbored hopes, actually, of being able to visit Kyiv and possibly serve there, because there's just something about those people and that nation that I find have long found to be inspiring. But what they're going through now, and what they are fiercely, bravely, heroically fighting. It moves me and inspires me. I want, if this by any strange chance reaches my friends in Ukraine, I want them to know that I pray for them each night and each day, that I carry them in my heart, and whatever I may do, whatever little thing I may do that may help them, will certainly do. So it's a small thing, but I posted the flag of Ukraine here on the stream this evening, just to remind us and to keep reminding us and to remind me of what is happening this half world away, and my hope for peace and freedom for Ukraine. So, anyway, I follow that very closely, and I'm very hopeful. Hopeful for the outcome there for all the world. So anyway, as I said, I've been underleveled. We all need to do whatever we can, and good for you. We are looking at a lot of different classes, and it is interesting because, of course, we need each of the different ancestries that are represented in our world, and each of the different cultures in our world are unique to this world, and so Warlock is no different. Monks are an interesting question, because monks have certain requirements under 5e rules that that require them to study in particular places. So um, I'm um, it's almost like I have to come up with my own place for monks to study, you know, in the world. I'm particularly excited though to write up with my wife the backgrounds for the Barong, this new ancestry that we're introducing into the world. I'm also very much excited about writing up the backgrounds, the cultures for not only the Barong but also for the Dragonborn and the Tiefling um, and the Halfling. Um, because of something unique to this world that involves all of them, each of those different ancestries. So I'm very, very excited, um, very, very excited um, um, to get uh, uh, to get involved in those and to get writing those up, which actually should be in the next week or so. Let's see. This is behind the time, so I think we'll just go back over here. Under level, you asked what did I happen to see the Heroes of Krynn article with Wizards of the Coast put out a day or two ago? Apparently, we're getting a Dragonlance supplement this year. I'm aware of it. Interestingly, Margaret Weiss sent the article over to me. So I am aware of it, although I haven't read it as yet, being really quite occupied at the moment with trying to get Skyriders built properly, written up properly, and also with my new work at the Void, or my new old work at the Void, where we're starting to put together new experiences for a new incarnation of the Void that is spectacular. And I hope to be able to share some of that with you here in the months to come. But I haven't actually had a chance to read the article about Heroes of Krynn. That Wizards of the Coast would have an interest in doing a Dragonlance supplement or creating new campaign books, 5e campaign books, or a 5e edition of Dragonlance. I think makes a lot of sense. I think it would be a great thing to have. They haven't consulted me at all on this. I mean, we're not involved in that at all. So there's really not much more I can tell you about it until I read the article, and then we could probably talk about it and decide what was there. And yes, thank you, Deja Vu. You're absolutely right. Rewriting all of the classes might be a really good thing to do, but um, actually giving you more world material, more backgrounds, more places to go. I'm very, very excited. Laura and I actually have been working together on the maps. We have a full world map that we're using for reference, but then we're trying to concentrate first on the Irenius coast, which is where our characters all begin and where they all come from. And then start to expand from there in like greater circles of voyage and distance and adventure. And so as we move out, we need more and more maps for the different places that are there. Laura and I have been working very hard on those. Hopefully we'll be able to share some of those with you here pretty soon. It's really very exciting. In fact, Laura and I have been using an online program together, which I've really enjoyed using. I believe it's I believe, let me look very quickly here so I can, yeah, there it is. Okay. I'm going to write it here in the chat. Called Incarnate, which is INKARNATE.com. Incarnate. And it's a web-based mapping system that I've really been enjoying. I've been able to incorporate a number of my own maps from other programs that I used to create map directly into this program, and then revise them in the program into the incarnate mode, and come up with some really, for me, really fun and inspiring maps. So that's and then Laura and I can work on the same maps together at different times, but it allows me to create like the general map, and then she's going to go back in and then start putting in some of the details for me to start writing to. Yes, Deja, it works great for homebrewed worlds. It really does, and it's an easy program environment to learn and to work in. So I was actually very happy for that, especially because just like you, excuse me, Deja Vu, just like you, Deja Vu, I love maps, but making beautiful maps can take time. And this particular program has been tremendous for me in terms of the time, that I've had to spend in building maps. So we've been working very much on the maps, and we want to start concentrating on on a lot of the background work. I've also enlisted the help of my son-in-law, Alton Wheelhouse, who is a really great rulesmith and fabulous with numbers, and also very deep into 5e. So he's going to be helping me get the numbers right as we move forward with the design. So that's very exciting for us. We are currently planning on, Laura and I are planning on going to the Gen Con convention this year. And if you haven't been to Gen Con before, this could be a really great year to go. We've got some really special events that we're planning for this convention. And some of which you really aren't going to want to miss if you could make it. So count on Gen Con. I believe I may be attending a convention in the Seattle area, also around August, September of this year. And we're also seeing if maybe we can't make it to Atlanta and DragonCon this year, and see if that's a possibility for us. It's time, I think, to come out and see everyone again, to get back in touch with you and to connect with everybody once again. So I guess that's kind of the general plan for the year. We do have the first of the Dragonlance novels is scheduled to come out this year, and I'm hoping actually to at some point here this year, in advance of the release of the book, to give you some sneak peeks, some looks at the text. I'd like to come and do some readings for you here on Dragonhearth from the books. from the book that's coming out this fall, and hopefully that'll be a lot of fun to do. Trying to think if there's anything else. Really, I don't have any. Sadly, no fortune cookies tonight. But then there's no game, so it's probably just as well. It does. I'm wondering if on the chat anybody has any questions. Yes, that's right, Underleveled. It'll be story time with the Hickmans, and that actually is going to be a lot of fun. It's actually these story times are kind of a tradition when it comes to Dragonlance. When the first, I don't, you may be aware of this, I don't know, but when the first novel was going to come out, the very first novel, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, it was first released in paperback. And prior to the release, we were trying to drum up, some enthusiasm for this novel, which no one had done a novel to a game before this way. And so at the Gen Con convention at the time, which was then being held at the University of Wisconsin Parkside, we decided to try to do a little promotion on our own. And so Margaret and I produced this dramatic reading, managed to secure a small stage, and managed to gather a bunch of people, a bunch of TSR people together, and produce this dramatic reading from Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight. And I think, Margaret, I think, was the narrator, and Margaret was more like the narrator. I believe I played Fizban. Harold Johnson played Sturm. Douglas Niles, a great game designer, played Flint the Dwarf, and always played Flint the Dwarf. And Laura took a part. She played Tika, and Bapu, I think, in the reading. Oh my goodness, I'm trying. Janet Pack and Gary Pack were there. Gary played Tanis, and Janet played Tasselhoff, as she did for many, many years. So doing a dramatic reading actually was very much part of launching Dragonlance. And so, doing a reading for you here is just continuing a tradition, I think, that's gone down through the years. Let's say, did the working title for Dragons of Deceit have any bearing on the plot? Well, of course, titles usually come after the books, and so I think that in many ways they do refer to events within the book. I can't tell you how excited I am about sharing this story with you. It touches so dear to me in terms of classic themes in Dragonlance and classic Dragonlance itself. It is in fact titled at Wizards' insistence, Classic Dragonlance, and so for me, it's very much coming home again. So, does the title have some bearing on the plot, or some insight into the plot? Yes, I think that it probably does. Deja, you wanted to know if we intend the tone of the world to be darker, like Ravenloft, or less dark, like Dragonlance. I think I've long said that there are basic themes that continue in Dragonlance, and they are still very much at the heart of what we're building and what we've built here in this new trilogy. that everything is built on a triad in Dragonlance. There's good, evil, and chaos, and 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 the theme of good is that good redeems its own. It doesn't always win, but it does always redeem its own. Evil doesn't always lose, but evil consumes itself. That within evil are the seeds of its own are always sown the seeds of its own destruction, and that it's actually the motion between these poles and between the chaos of the world itself that gives motion to the universe and the world, and is represents the great struggle. And so I do think that in some ways the tone is more serious, and maybe in some ways more matured. I want to say mature because it has a different connotation, but I think that in some ways that that it deals with themes that are very recognizable to us today. But whether it's dark or not, Dragonlance has always had a dark aspect to it, of course. But we've also always had the Kender too, who has brought a brightness and a hope, even in the darkest of times, just in their innocence. And those are the things that I very much love about Dragonlance, and are very much at the heart of what we're writing here. Yes, I think turning the books into audio dramas would be a lot of fun. As I said, that's kind of where we started. Yes, no, underlevel dragons are not nearly as trustworthy as you think. And Dragonlance Slug, you were asking, you were meaning Tasselhoff's wife working title. That is an interesting working title. And we'll go into that later in the month or later in the year. Yes, it's true. Kender can carry their own lights. Oh, I'm sorry. My sinuses are starting once again to rebel. And it's probably time that I go take something for it, and my wife probably needs something to be taken for it as well. Oh, thank Chief Walking Turtle. Yes. Well, I wept at Flint's death too, and for that matter, it was a good thing that Margaret is a touch typist, because when she was writing Sturm on the Wall in Winter Night, she couldn't see the screen for the tears in her eyes. We too are deeply moved by some of our characters and what happens to them in the books. But and I hope that you'll be with us as deeply moved with the characters in the new book. This new series, where we'll get to revisit the world, and we'll get to revisit characters that we love in the world, and we'll get to know new characters that I'm deeply excited about introducing to you, because I've come to love them too. And all of that's coming here very, very soon. In fact, as soon as I've got a release date for the books, I will absolutely let you know. Underlevel wants to know if I have any backer kit updates. There's something of an issue that we have to deal with when it comes to backer kit, and that is that once we get backer kit set up and open, then we have to, at that the moment we open that, from what I understand from um, oh, sorry, my head's clogged. From what I understand from Joe Borey and the Boreys, once we open up BackerKit, then we have to lock down our prices in terms of shipments and international shipments and that sort of thing. And so we're actually wanting to delay that by a month or so, just so that we'll know that we have a good handle on what those costs are, especially in the world that's as volatile as it is right now. So, but as soon as we do, as soon as we can, I want to open up BackerKit because obviously I want to make this available to more people, and I certainly want if there were additional buys that you wanted to make in Skyraiders, I certainly want to have that available to you. Of course, right at the moment, my big concentration, and our big concentration, is actually producing it, getting the text written, getting the backgrounds written, and more particularly, there's some really exciting new capabilities actually that we're looking at in terms of the app that I think are going to be especially exciting for you. Working very hard on all of those things, but we will get BackerKit up and running just as soon as we could, as soon as we can. Yes, okay, Chief Walking Joe. Yes, Kryn is cool, but you want your skyships, and yes, they're going to be fabulous when we get them to you. It's an amazing world, and more particularly, I hope it's a world that you're going to enjoy playing in and contributing to. In fact, I probably should do an update on this theme, and I think probably will this week. We need to get an update out anyway. Want to make sure everybody's connected and knows what's going on. There's an interesting philosophy, actually, or truth, actually, about the written word, which is, and I give a huge lecture about this, so I apologize for compressing it into this kind of condensed concept. But when we, excuse me, when we write a novel, we may write a full novel, it could be 130,000, 140,000 words. But the actual file size of an entire novel is much smaller than the worst digital picture you can take with a really lousy phone. And the reason for that is that the data density in a novel really isn't that deep. It's just, a string of symbols. And there's just not that much data that's there in that string of symbols. Well, what happens is that you, as the reader, when you open up the book and you start reading the text, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the meaning, the place, the presence, the being there, all of that takes place in the white space in between the words. It's not actually on the page. What happens is that you and I become collaborators in the creation of something immense and magnificent. My job as a writer is to put the words on the page that inspire you as the reader to fill in that blank with meaning and with presence. And so you actually create all of the wondrous aspect of of the story itself, yeah, all in that white space. So if you consider that to be true, and I believe that to be true, and that you and I are in a partnership, excuse me, which is why very often people come up to us at conventions and start telling me about my book, um, which, you know, may seem odd, but the truth is that what I've come to understand is they're actually telling me about their performance of my book, of my words. Each one is unique. John Steinbeck said that there are as many books as there are readers, because each reader provides their own coloring, their own experience, their own prejudices, their own viewpoint they bring to the text that they read. So I believe that's true also of Sky Raiders, that we're going to have this amazing text that we're going to be giving you and this amazing experience we're going to be giving to you, but it's you who will make the world live and breathe when you open the book up and read the words on the page. And so that's what's very exciting for me, is not necessarily what Laura and I and Joe and Kim are doing with the game, but what you will do with the game when you get your hands on it and turn it into a breathing, living place. Oh, pardon me. Let's see here very quickly. Will there be any Roll20 or VTT support for the campaign and or additionally published adventure and content? Additionally published adventures and content, possibly, but we are definitely looking into VTT support, especially because we have so much online component, and we're dealing with the app anyway. So we are definitely looking into VTT support for this. The game as published is going to have adventure in it, which Laura and I are writing. But for us, it is very much a springboard for you to get into the world and begin creating on your own. Underlevel, you said you were going to think about making your own homebrew for some casual campaigns. Yeah, I've got a lot of advice actually, but most of it is in the XDM Extreme Dungeon Mastery book. So maybe I should send you in that direction first, because otherwise I'll be here all night giving advice. Yeah. Oh, I do apologize. It's been fun being with you here this evening, but my voice is starting to go. I'm having a little trouble breathing. So I'm going to need to cut this short this evening. Thanks for coming tonight. We're looking forward to getting back to the game next week. And hopefully look forward to seeing you there at the game next week. Thank you. I hopefully will be doing better by then. Until then, let's all hope for peace. Let's all hope for peace. Let's all hope for the great people of Ukraine. So may our thoughts and prayers go to those good people and to that great nation. And from me to you, thank you for being here with us tonight. And we'll see you again next week right here on Dragonhearth. Thanks, everybody.